Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will be showing you how I created 2 fall wreaths using Dollar Tree items. So for the first wreath, I'm going to be using the pumpkin-shaped wire form, and I'm just going to manipulate that a little bit to get it to the shape that I like. I just kind of rounded it out and then just made sure it was like the shape I wanted. And I'm also going to be using some of this cork ribbon that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And I actually purchased 3 packs of this. So I'm going to secure the outside of the wire wreath form with the ribbon. So just put a little hot glue at the end and then secure that to the actual wire so it does not move. And then once that sets up, I'm going to wrap the outside of the wreath form with this ribbon, just overlapping it slightly, so it's about halfway from the previous section of the ribbon, just overlapping that. And I'm going to do that around the entire wreath form. And I do use some glue when I get to the rib sections of the pumpkin, but the rest of the part, I just wrap it around and make sure it's nice and tight. And if you run out of ribbon, just secure that end and then begin your next ribbon with the hot glue. So right here I just had to secure that with some hot glue and start the next ribbon. And then when I get to the top, I'm actually going to go over and then under and around so I can secure that to the stem. And then I'm going to hot glue that there and then wrap the ribbon around the stem, just overlapping it just like I did the outside, and then secure the end with hot glue. And then I'm going to repeat this process on all of the ribs. Now the stem, there is a little hole at the top, and I left that there on purpose, and I will show you why in just a moment. But this is how it looks once it's completely covered in the ribbon, and I have a little bit less than 1 of the packages of cork ribbon left. Now I'm going to use some of this floral wire that you can also get at the Dollar Tree, my wire cutters, and then the florals that I'm going to be putting in this pumpkin. I'm going to be using 2 of each. So it is 2 of the cattails, 2 of these gorgeous orange sunflowers. I just love that color, so fall. And 2 of the fall bouquets that have little brown cattails and 2 little pine cones and a cotton ball. So I'm going to begin fluffing the cattails out a little bit. And then I'm going to you see me put it in the second rib, but I do take that out and I put it in the bottom rib of the pumpkin. So it's in the bottom section there. And then I'm going to take the orange sunflowers and go into the second rib of the pumpkin, pushing those down slightly lower than the cattails, so the cattails stick out a little further. And then the fall bouquet I will put in the third rib of the pumpkin, repeating the same process there, pushing it down a little bit further than the orange sunflowers. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, put in the cattails, the sunflowers, and then the fall bouquet right there in that third rib. Then I am going to secure these together with the floral wire, and then also secure it to the top part of that stem. So it's actually attached to each other as well as the stem at the top through that little hole. Now, because these are stacked shorter than the others, there's going to be some end pieces on each side that I will go back and secure with the floral wire so they hold together very nicely. And just make sure you get that nice and tight. And then as I fluff it out, I do see some end pieces that pop up, so I make sure I secure those as well with the floral wire. So now it is time to make the bow, and all of this ribbon I purchased at the Dollar Tree, this gorgeous orange, and that matches the sunflower so nicely. And then this green, which also matches the greenery in the florals very nicely as well. And then for some color, these beautiful leaves and acorn ribbon, and all of these are 9 foot, they're all wired edged. And then my absolute favorite is this beautiful red truck with the pumpkins. That is so cute. So to begin making the bow, I did not measure this out. I just kind of eyeballed it. but I fold it over like a little loop and then make the bottom loop about the same size as the top, holding it in the center. I go over that right hand side making a loop and then bring that up to the center. So that's going to be how I make all of these bows. So the orange one, I wanted it to be on the bottom, so it's going to be a lot larger than the rest. And again, I just eyeballed this just to make sure that I had the right size between the florals to cover up all those stems. And I'm just going to loop that over, loop the bottom, loop it around the right side, and then bring that back up to the center. And so the orange is going to be on the bottom, and then I'm going to use the same process to make the bow with the leaves and the acorns, because I wanted to place that between the orange and the green bows. So once I get that together, I am going to put the leaves, the ribbon leaves, on top of the orange, and then put that green on top, squeeze it very tightly in the center, fluff out my bow a little bit, make sure they're even on each side, and I'm going to secure that with a chenille stem, making sure it is very tight and secure. And then I'm going to take that and attach it to the wreath, and I'm going to feed the chenille stem through that hole at the top where the pumpkin stem is, and the other side through the bottom of where the florals are together. And then I'm going to make sure that's nice and tight, twisting it. And then once that is nice and tight, I do cut the excess chenille stem off. And to cover that chenille stem and to give it a finished look, I take some of the green ribbon, fold it into thirds, and then I do feed it through the stem of the pumpkin, and I secure that down with some hot glue. And that just gives it a nice finished look to that bow. So now to use the pretty little truck ribbon, I am going to feed that through the center of the pumpkin wreath form. And what I did was I left the two ribs, like left the ribbon on the top of the two ribs so you could actually see the truck and the pumpkins. And then I'm going to feed it through each side, just going under, over, under, over. So it's actually under on the outside edges of the wreath form. And then I just pull that down to the center, kind of even it up. And then I'm going to secure that with some hot glue on the back side of the wreath form to the actual ribbon on both sides. And this is how it turned out. I just think this is so cute and so fall. I really like how this one turned out. So before we go on to the second wreath form, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for watching my video. And if you are new here and you like Dollar Tree and Farmhouse budget-friendly DIYs, then please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell notification. So for the second wreath form, I'm going to be using this calendar that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I actually picked out one of the, it was actually November, and then I'm going to be using this sign that also came from the Dollar Tree back in the summer, and I'm just going to trace that out and cut this out. And I just love this saying, begin each day with a grateful heart, and we really should begin each day with a grateful heart. And I'm going to secure that to the sign with Mod Podge, and then just push all the little creases out, set that to the side, and let it completely dry before you put it onto your wreath form. So I'm going to be using one of the round wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree, some of the same green floral wire, and then please ignore the eucalyptus. I decided not to use that. It was a little dull, so I'm not using the eucalyptus. But I'm going to be using actually 3 of those fall bouquets, 2 of the burlap sunflowers, 2 of the fall berries, and then 2 of these foxtails. So I'm going to begin by putting the foxtails opposite each other, lining those up, and then I'm going to take the berries, put them slightly lower than the foxtails opposite each other, and then I do have to cut those fall bouquets down so the stems don't stick out the opposite side of each other. These are so cute with the little cotton ball and the pine cones and the cattails. And then once I cut those down to size, I'm going to put those opposite each other in the floral bouquet, and then I'm going to secure that with my floral wire. So once I get those lined up in the center, I'll secure that really tightly with the floral wire. So I wrap that quite a few times, making sure that it is nice and secure. So I'm just lining this up, making sure everything's even, and then securing that. And once I wrap that around the little excess, once I twist that, I just tuck that down into the stems of the floral bouquet. And then once I get that nice and secure, I'm going to bend it, trying to get it to the shape of the side of the wreath form. So here I'm just going to bend that around, trying to make sure that I can kind of get it to the size of that one side of the wreath form. Then I'm going to take this burlap ribbon that also came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to feed it through the wire form and use my hot glue to secure that to the actual wire so it doesn't come apart. So just put that on the wire and then put it on the edge, fold that over, and secure it down. And now I'm going to wrap these, just one half of the wreath form with this burlap ribbon, just slightly going over, kind of overlapping each section about halfway. So I'll just go around there, wrapping it, and about halfway of the original wrap. And then I'm going to complete that process around half of this wreath form. And I do have a little excess left over, and I'll show you what I do with that, but it does take this whole roll of ribbon for this project. So once I get to the end, I'm going to secure that again with the hot glue to the wreath form and to the other part of the ribbon there. And then the excess, I'm going to repeat that process on the opposite side, like that one little center section opposite, but I just start that off with wrapping it, but before I completely wrap it, I am going to put my florals in there. So just have that first section secured, then put my florals on top, and then I'm going to wrap that center section of those florals with this burlap ribbon, and that's going to cover up those stems, but it's also going to give me a place to put some more flowers. So once I get that on there, I secure that again with some hot glue. And then I fluff out my flowers, make sure they're nice and pretty where I want them. Make sure my sign fits in there. And then I put a generous amount of hot glue on the back of this, making sure that it will be nice and secure on top of that burlap ribbon. And I just set it in place and let that set up. Now these burlap sunflowers, I just pull those off of the stems, and then I cut the bottom pieces flush so that I can hot glue these to the burlap that I put between the florals. So that burlap served two purposes. It covered up the stems, but also gave me a place to put these beautiful little sunflowers. So on the second bouquet of sunflowers, I pulled one of those off and put it in the center at the top just to cover up that hole from the calendar. And then I'm going to take two of the pine cones off of one of those other floral bouquets and secure those, one on each side of the sunflower, just to give it a nice little decorative touch. Then I'm going to take the three remaining burlap sunflowers and hot glue those to the side of the burlap ribbon so it gives it a nice finished look. And that is how it turned out. It is so pretty. You guys, if you have a favorite, please let me know. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps support my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care, and I will see you next time.